a show about our adventures and discoveries as we explore the world of gaming. I'm Chad.
On today's show,
Things to get excited about, Mohrnheim Halcyon update, and tools and methods for managing your campaign, your adventures, and your encounters. Let's explore.
So, Chad, we have a
Galen.
lot to talk about today, so let's just jump right into it, okay?
I'm so excited about so many things. Let's go.
That's
Let's
what I've
start.
heard. So you're
Yeah.
excited about these things.
I am.
Start telling me. Let me just lay it on me. Tell me
Yeah,
about these
well-
things you're excited about.
First, I want to give a little background because I always have background before I can say a thing, which is why we have this show, so I can talk about it.
You got it.
So lately, I've been really thinking about like how all the settings in Dungeons and Dragons are all pretty much the same. I mean, they're all different, and you know, I'm throwing some shade, which is a little unfair because I love them all.
Yeah.
But Greyhawk, Dragonlance, Middle Earth, which isn't quite D&D, but is also in D&D, the Forgotten Realms. I mean, these are all kind of neo-European settings. They were all made by white people primarily, if not entirely. Mostly men. Margaret Weiss had a lot to say about Dragonlance. And I know there have been women involved kind of here and there, but primarily, J.R.R. Tolkien, Ed Greenwood, Gary Gygax, all these, it's all kind of the same. And so I've really been hungry for something else. And I've really also been wrestling with the problematic elements of our campaign settings. And this show isn't about that, so I don't necessarily need to dive in a lot, but it's a lot of kind of the player characters kind of going and looking at the weirdo, cultures somewhere else.
Right. Right.
That is just, again, we can unpack that maybe another day, but, And so I've just been hungry for something else. And so the other thing I noticed was that about just the gaming industry, which I think is just true, is that most of the money, like in most places, is kind of all at the top. Wizard of the Coast, which I love. I love the stuff they do. It has a bunch of it. Critical Role has their Kickstarter, which I think still has some time on it. That made millions of dollars.
Yeah,
which is cool.
yeah.
Matt Mercer's the best. They're great. Paizo's another one that's a big company that puts out really high quality products. That has a lot of money. But what I've been thinking about is how can we spread that out? Who's making cool stuff that is different, that is not just, not Middle Earth or whatever.
Right.
And is kind of novel to me, and is somebody who is still in their garage or whatever, or who's kind of on the edge of making kind of something new innovation. So that's my mindset lately.
Yeah.
And the first one that I came across was just a few weeks ago. It is on the DM's Guild, and this is the Uncaged anthology, and it's 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and produced all by women and non-binary folks. 25 adventures, and I'll just read the copy. It's a collection of myth and folklore themed adventures written for 5th edition. Each adventure subverts tropes around female mythological creature or monsters, including hags, harpies, medusas, and much, much more. That really was exciting to me. And the cover is really great. There's this great image of a Medusa. And so I just bought it. It hasn't arrived yet. I ordered the hardback version because I really like hardback books. And it should come out. It should arrive any day now. Volume 2, is due later this month.
Okay.
So we'll see. So we'll see how much I like it, but I want it to arrive so I can see and talk about it.
That's right. Yeah.
And the other one that I'm super excited about, this is a Kickstarter that closes tomorrow. So if you're seeing this on Twitch on April 9th or the morning of April 10th, you still have time to back it. And it's Welcome to, I don't know how he pronounces it, Welcome to Tikor, Tikor, the Swords Fall RPG setting and art book.
Okay.
And this was exactly what I'd been looking for, because it's system neutral. I think he's making a game also, but that's not part of this Kickstarter. Okay. And I love 5th edition. It's a tough sell for me to learn a new system, especially if I have to be the one to figure it out. And system neutral stuff is something I've really been looking for. And so he describes it as Afro-punk sci fantasy. And Brandon Dixon is the creator of this. And he's collected a lot of great people doing original art, all original art. He is super passionate, super articulate. He has studied philosophy like I have. I think he has studied more of it than I have. he's just got this great, clear, ambitious vision. And so his Kickstarter, he was only asking for $2,000. I think that's what he needed to just print some books. And he is over, last I saw, earlier today, so this is again Tuesday, April 9th, he was over $100,000, pushing, I think he's going to make at least $110,000. And so his rewards, I think he'll probably go even higher than that, but his rewards at the 100,000 mark includes he's going to print everything, and it's going to be an art book and a setting book, and I think maybe a careers book or something else. It's a total of 4 hardback books at the level that I pledged at.
Wow.
Anybody who pitches more than $50 or more gets all these upgrades. So it's 4 hardbacks in a slipcase deluxe printing.
Wow.
Yeah, and for $50.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. And expect to pay that for one book.
Yeah. And he's given every indication that he's a smart guy who's done the math, and so I hope he has, because this is a lot for not much money, And so, and I believe that he has. And if he can get, I can't remember what his mark is. I think it's 120,000, but I'm not sure of that. He's got plans for creating a studio, an art studio, and being able to kind of really invest in himself as a business. And I think we're going to see a lot from him. I think after this, I really hope and believe that this is just the beginning for Brandon. So anyway, I'm just super excited. Now the sad thing about this is that it's because he's still going to kind of put all this stuff together. The release date is March 2020, so a year from now.
Gotcha.
So my excitement is then saddened by this, but and this is new for me. This is the first Kickstarter that I've ever. So it's my third total Kickstarter. The first was for a Dungeons and Dragons documentary that they succeeded, but then all the creators sued each other, and we haven't heard from them for 2 years.
Wow. Great.
Yeah. And then another one just didn't succeed. Another, I can't remember, project from like 7 years ago or something. And so I'm not used to, so now I have to wait so long, and I'm so upset. And then the last thing is just and this is kind of back on to the normal track of things, the Wizards of the Coast release coming up in May. So Ghosts of Saltmarsh, this isn't a news show, so most people who care about this sort of thing already know about it. But as you probably, Galen, and the viewers may remember, I ran the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh from the original module several months ago. And so this is really fun. So this is an updated version of that series. I think it's U1, 2, and 3, and then some other adventures put into it. So really looking forward to hearing how they kind of clean up the parts that I quibbled about. Well, and there's a special printing. There's a special cover, like they often do now with Wizards, of I think it's called Sahuagin, those water creatures.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. They're like weird fishmen, but not really. Yeah, they're like weird fishmen, exactly, but they're like angry and organized. So they're not the Kotoa, they're not the bullywugs. Like, these are like the alpha angry fishmen. Crazy,
And when I was growing up, we called them Sahagin, but I think that's wrong, because in the promotion of this book, they've all said Sahuagin. So, anyway, I will probably get that. I might wait. I want that cover because it actually looks really badass. But I have a birthday coming right after that, so I might wait. Decisions. So
that's right.
That's it all. That's what I'm excited about. I'm very excited.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It is.
And it's great, because like we're talking about, the focus of the show, the gaming adventure and discovery, right? And these are all new things, and some of them really different, like the Welcome to Tikor stuff. I'm really excited about that now too. Through you. So that, yeah.
It's not too late. I mean, I know $60. You could do PDFs for $30. But,
I know.
You could back the PDF for 30, or
it's
true. Hardback books for 50.
It's true. There's always so much new fun stuff out there, and that leads me into something that I am excited about.
Yes. What is it? Tell me.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you all right now. It's a game that just came out called Comrades, a revolutionary RPG. And this was actually something that we did back on Kickstarter. And this is from a fellow by the name of
cool.
William Akers, who was the creator of Deadball that I talked about on the stream before, past episode.
Oh, right, the baseball
baseball game. Yeah. And this new game, it's an RPG. It's based on the Apocalypse World engine, which I am not familiar with, but I have heard that name before.
Yeah, there's so much stuff, and I've never played it either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
People love it. It's a little polarizing, I think. I think people either love it or just don't think it's worth any time. But
that's kind of what I've heard.
A lot of people love it.
Yeah, but from what I've heard in past, like listening to YouTube videos and other podcasts, people talking about it, and then flipping through the PDF that we got for it, I'm excited about the mechanics. It's different, something I haven't done before, and I'm excited to try it out. So let me kind of lay this out and break it down.
Okay.
So, and this is mostly from like the stuff on his website and me going through the PDF. I haven't played it yet, so I have to say that. I haven't played the game yet.
Okay.
I just had some time to leaf through it and kind of get a basic idea of the mechanics and how things will work out.
Okay.
So Comrades is a tabletop RPG about life in the revolutionary underground. It takes place in a country that can be real or imaginary, historical, futuristic, present day, whatever you want, that's on the verge of revolution. And it's up to you and the game master and the players to push it over the brink. It says it's intended from 2 to 5 players, which is pretty much your general like D&D RPG game size.
Yep, very much.
And plus a game master. He says it's a game about sacrifice, bravery, and the beautiful madness of risking your life for your ideals.
Oh, man.
It's also a game of consequences in which violence solves little and no death, even that of a villain, goes unmourned. So as I was reading this, that it totally just ticked all my boxes. It's like it's about characters struggling for a great ideal against some evil out there, whether it be a government or a police state or what have you.
Yeah, and so this strikes me already. One of the things I don't know that we've really talked about it explicitly, but I think you and I both kind of like the stuff that sometimes doesn't align with our ideals a little bit.
Yes.
It's like you like to lean into the dark side a little bit. We play the Dungeons & Dragons character that's a little murdery or a little like cruel or whatever, and it sounds like this might be a little bit more aligned, at least in some ways, with your kind of values. Is that true?
Yes,
or what do you think?
It is. It's really interesting because as I was reading through it, the very beginning of the book he lays out sort of his idea for writing this thing. And the first line is, "When did the left forget how to fight?"
Yeah.
And then it kind of goes on like that. And it's definitely coming from a leftist progressive viewpoint. So I think the game assumes you'll probably be struggling against some fascist government or something akin to that. And he said he drew the inspiration of the game was a fascination for the early days of the Russian Revolution, when the workers and the soldiers and the intellectuals all came together to try and take their shot, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
But as he says, is so often the times with these things, great ideas, but then it falls apart, and it really fascinated him. So
I studied just a little bit of economics in grad school, not much, but a little bit, and the whole, what I know about Marxism could fit in a teacup, but what I do know is that at the core, it's the workers seizing the means of production, right? And so that's the concept anyway. Now we know in practice that's had a lot of kind of failures beyond that, but that's the theory behind it. So that kind of gets me excited.
Yeah, just the mechanics of the game, like I said, different to me from games I've played before. So basically, what it is the players come together and they pick characters, and these characters are all laid out in the rule book, and they're referred to. Let's see, there are 10 different character types, and you pick one, and they're kind of like character classes in D&D. And it's up to you. It gives you like the nuts and bolts of how this class works, but it's up to you to kind of tweak the way you want to play it. I'll just go through the classes real quick and read them off.
Sure, yeah.
There's the artist, Creative, impulsive, and vain, the artist chooses a medium that gives her a bonus in specific areas and has powerful moves to support her comrades through art. I was like, oh, okay, the artist. I don't really think of that.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, kind of yeah, interesting. Then there's the brute, proudly violent. The brute joined the revolution partly because she knows it's right and partly because it offers a wonderful opportunity to crack skulls. Then there's the... yeah. I'm not going to read all the descriptions, but I'll just give you the headers here. There's the demagogue, who's the rabble-rouser. The mystic, who's a proponent of a new faith. The patron, who's wealthy. There's the professional, veteran of countless revolutions from around the globe. The propagandist, the master of spin. The soldier with a lifetime in the armed forces. The student, fueled by idealism. And finally, the worker, the backbone of the revolution. So, following up on your mentioning about the workers of the world unite kind of stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if this maps to Animal Farm. Are you familiar with Animal Farm?
A little bit. I know the general of the story. I haven't really read it.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's a fast read, and it's by George Orwell, and but it's very much a kind of a retelling of the Russian Revolution through a barnyard kind of mythology, and it's. Anyway, so each animal like maps onto a different level. Like,
I gotcha.
So like
yeah.
the pigs are the revolutionaries, and they're like one of them is like Trotsky and one is Stalin, and then like the mule is one level and the horse is the worker, kind of the draft horse, and there's a couple other animals around that all have their roles. And anyway, I'm sure it's at least vaguely influenced.
More than likely.
Anyway.
Yeah. So the characters, the players pick one of those characters. And the basic, like the end game, what you're looking to do is lead your revolution. They give you 5 pathways to completing your revolution. And those pathways are force, organization, zealotry, mayhem, and fellowship. And they each offer like different ways. You like with force, it's obviously you're trying to do a more militant thing and get out on the streets and do it. With organization, you're more focused on building up a base of supporters. With zealotry, you're trying to appeal to a higher power. With mayhem, your focus is on violence and terrorism. With fellowship, you're just trying to build up an esprit de corps among a core group of people and just have it like bubble up to the population that way.
Do you think force would be like the military kind of taking control, and then mayhem is just more like the kind of anarchists just creating this riots in the streets kind of thing?
Yeah.
Is that the difference there, do you think?
Yeah, the mayhem stuff, from reading from it, is more focused on you could relabel it terrorism, and it's basically the same thing.
Gotcha.
It's instilling fright in the populace. So
okay, gotcha.
So each of those 5 different pathways has tiers to it. And at the end of each session, after the players get experience and whatnot, depending on the actions they took, whether they were more forceful or more like focused on mayhem, they get to try and progress down one of those paths or down multiple paths if they tried a whole bunch of different things.
Oh.
And each level you get in these pathways brings you one step closer to the revolution taking place. But also what happens is you get mechanical bonuses. So if you go up in force, you'll get a mechanical bonus. Maybe you'll get a group of armed followers who will support your cause. But as you get higher up, these can also come with disadvantages. So maybe you lose control of this group and they splinter off. And now you're having to deal with another faction. So there's pluses and minuses, and it becomes more perilous as you get closer to the end game. Which really which really intrigued me. That was like, the closer you get to your goal, the more precise you have to be, or things can really fall apart.
Yeah. That's the whole like you can win every war or win every battle and lose the war, or
Exactly,
vice versa, right?
exactly,
Lose every
yeah.
battle. I don't know if that literally would work in this game, but it might. It sounds like it actually could.
I think it really could. So what else I want to talk about? I want to talk about the characters and the way you level up, which I thought was really interesting. Instead of like D&D, you get experience for succeeding at a task. In this game, you get experience for failing. So if you do something that requires you to test against one of your characteristics, like in D&D, and you fail at it, you get an experience tick.
Okay.
Which I really liked, because that's always what they say, right? You learn more from your failures than you do from your successes.
Yes.
Which is really interesting. You also gain experience for increasing the bond between the player characters. And bond is something that's tracked. So like every time you get closer to a character or share an experience with a different character in the game, you increase a bond and gain an experience point. For every 5 experience points you get to add yourself on like another power from your character sheet that was given from the when you picked what character you wanted to play. You talked about earlier about how it's hard to get a new system in and learn it. It's daunting.
Yeah.
This is very daunting for me, right? It's all
Yeah.
different. It's learning a different language. And I find myself, as I go through this book, taking the language that Mr. Akers uses to describe these things and trying to find a corollary in D&D.
Sure.
Yeah. So like the characters have powers that are called moves. And these would be like, like the different powers that you get in, like it's like spells or whatnot in D&D.
Oh, okay. Sure. Okay.
And moves govern everything from really common behavior, which you don't have to test and you can do it whenever you want, to special moves, which are listed on all of the player cards. And those require you to make a dice roll. And the dice rolls it's all a D6 game. So you're always rolling, and you want success levels. So like a 10 is a great success, and like a 7 is like a moderate success with something weird happening, and then like a 5 is like bad stuff is happening.
Okay.
And it's up to the GM to define that and find out like how bad it's going to be and what that's going to be.
So I bet this moves pretty fast because it's essentially one dice roll resolves every conflict.
He lays it out in the book and says, if you're spending a lot of time rolling dice, like in combat, you're doing it wrong.
Right. Okay.
Things will move pretty quick, which is really intriguing, and I like that. Coming from like when I started in RPGs with 4th edition D&D, combat's going to drag out for 5 hours. No, these are like 10 or 15 minute kind of deals.
Yeah.
The game also lays out moves for the GM, which I thought was helpful, especially for a new GM who this might be their first shot at it. And it gives you different things that you can do, like promise trouble, like tell the players that if you do this, this might happen, something bad's going to happen, and then another one, deliver trouble. So if you promise it, do it. Give it to them, stuff like that. How to put your players in a tricky spot, offer a nasty choice or a consequence to an action that the PCs want to do. Tell them those consequences up front and make them choose. Separate the PCs, test their principles. If they got a cool move that they do, try and flip it back on them so it comes to bite them in the butt somehow. All about putting them in less optimal situations.
Right. Cool.
Which I thought was really helpful. It's something that I, as a GM, try and do in general because I think it's fun. But the fact that they lay it out in this book, I think, was a really good thing.
Yeah. You were talking about the mechanics and how it's a different language, right? And I think I think part of that is just because we have been so D20 and Dungeons and Dragons, focused for the last 10 years since since you and I've been gaming together with, because I think there's a whole kind of culture and community about these apocalypse world people, folks who just play Apocalypse World games. Dungeon World is the one that's, I think, the most like D&D as far as I understand.
Right.
And I bet that's part of the reason there's so many games out there that have this same Apocalypse World engine, is because I bet it'd be a lot easier for us to pick up if we invested
exactly
in that, so
yeah I have to try and unlearn all these past 15 years of gaming, right?
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, that's the basics of the game.
And what's it look like?
It's pretty basic. It does have some art in it. There's not a lot, and it's got this sort of pulp fiction kind of feel to it, like screen printed art and stuff like that.
Interesting.
I only have the PDF, so I can't speak to any quality of a hardbound product and like how that will hold up or what it's like or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the PDF is really well laid out. As I'd finish one section, the things that I had questions about or I wanted to know next were next in the book. So I didn't have to like flip back and forth to try and find what I thought would be the next logical place to go. The only thing that I would say about the PDF, which is available on DriveThruRPG, the PDF does have a lack of embedded bookmarks, which I find really handy. So if you go like in the for a PDF, you go to the table of contents, you're able to click on something, and it takes you right to that place in the book. It doesn't have that. But it does have text searching, so you can search for the words in it like that, which is fine.
Yeah.
I will more than likely end up printing out a version of the rule book for myself at my home printer.
Okay.
And using it that way.
How big is it? How many pages ish?
The main rule book is 162 pages.
Okay.
Then there is a separate PDF with what they call playbooks, which are the character options that you have.
Okay.
And so there's 10 more of those. And the PDF then also comes with a reference sheet. So getting you like the basic moves and how to do things and whatnot.
That's good.
And how to track your revolution. So there's play aids for the players, and there's also play aids for the GM.
Good.
Places to keep track of NPCs, activities that are going on, recent incidents, that kind of thing.
Nice.
Which is all set up really well.
I have questions.
Yeah.
What sort of settings do you think this would work for? So it sounds like it's rooted in kind of Russian Revolution, which was when was that, like 1917 or something?
Yeah.
So I imagine it would work in a 20th century setting. Would it work in the ancient world if you were overthrowing Rome, and would it work in...
Yeah, totally. I think so.
Okay.
It comes up in the beginning where he says, put it anywhere you want. He actually suggests a list of historical revolutions if you're kind of stuck for something and you want to try. Yep. And they go way back. But I could see you doing this in like a space setting, outer space with lasers and all that kind of stuff if you wanted. Yeah,
I was going to say, could you do Season 3 Battlestar Galactica on New Caprica when the Cylons were occupying the human forces? Because that's what I want to play.
Yeah, you could do it.
Yeah, nice.
It seems really open-ended that way. So it seems like it just gives you a framework, and that the time and setting is all up to you.
Okay. Yeah, great. Okay.
One last thing I want to say about the design and art in the book is that the text is black with red highlights and black and white art. So it's really got that sort of like Russian revolutionary poster kind of vibe going on.
Yeah, the Soviet
vibe.
Yeah.
I kind of groove on. Yeah.
It's pretty
totally.
Cool. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
So that's what I have to say about Comrades. I'm going to try and get a group together and see what we can do. And anything that I learned about this game through playing, I'll definitely talk about it here on the podcast.
Report back. Can't wait. Indeed. Sounds great. Indeed. Sounds good. So speaking of reports...
Yes.
So now it is April 9th. We had the first Saturday of the month was April 6th, and we had our Mohrnheim Halcyon session. Would you like to give our audience a recap?
Yeah. It was an interesting session because this was the first time that all the players were there.
That's right.
Yeah. The beginning was trying to get the party together because I had missed the last session. So my character had gone off and done a little character-focused side quest. And so the characters got together and they went to I forget the name of the tower.
Tower Inverness.
Tower Inverness, that's right. Which one of the PCs had a connection with and was there sort of training and trying to find out like their powers and stuff, right?
Yeah, he's being trained.
Yeah.
And they're kind of the quest givers. So this is a warlock cabal who is interested in having him retrieve an item of power from their adversaries.
Yes, and that was our mission, to retrieve this item of power. And so we were sent off to a district in Mohrnheim to let's see if I get this right, an ex-temple of the Raven Queen that was currently populated by cultists of Loviatar.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. And it's a subcult, because Loviatar is a major goddess in this campaign, who, even though she's evil, she's mostly a person you can deal with. So this is a deity that can be dealt with. So these are the true worshippers of Loviatar.
Yeah. Yeah.
In all caps, true worshippers,
right.
Not all caps,
one
but
true.
capital T, capital W.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to the building that we were headed for, and the party did some reconnaissance that went moderately successfully.
Yeah.
We had one of the party members is an Aarakocra, so they did some high-level flying and peering through some of the windows up top. And then we have two rogues in the party, and they went on either side of the building to try and look in the windows at ground level. One of the rogues, unfortunately, though, made eye contact with someone inside. But it was okay. The rogues, slipped into the shadows and weren't discovered. And the rest of the party was far enough away that the people that came out kind of looking for us weren't able to see anything. So they went back inside. We were able to gain access to the building. The Aarakocra took one of the rogues and flew them up to one of the upper windows, and they're able to shimmy in through that window, drop down inside in the foyer, open the door, and the rest of us rushed in. We then proceeded to open a door and kill a bunch of cultists who were just doing nothing. They were just praying there, not harming anybody. But yeah, the party got involved in combat with some cultists. There were a couple of them were of the higher leadership type, but we were able to take them out without any real difficulty. Exploring further in, we found the main room of the building where there were two human beings. I think they're both human. That were chained to the wall and had obviously been tortured. One of them had been tortured to death. The woman had died. My character, Mend, the cleric, was able to heal the other person that was chained up and brought him around. We sent him off, and he left the building.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. And then we found, in the middle of that room, there was an altar or a pillar with this horrible scourge on it, this whip, was like cat o' nine tails. And one of the party thought it'd be a good idea to take that, and so they grabbed it, and then this horrible shadow monster appeared from nowhere. One of the shadows that was a little too shadowy jumped up and just nailed them for a substantial amount of damage. I think it was like 14 points, I think.
Something like that.
Which is pretty high for second level.
Yeah. And drained her strength, I think, by 4 points or something.
Yeah, right. And then the shadow disappeared and left us. But as that shadow left, they saw a grate in the floor. And this is where Tenley felt the power of the artifact that he was searching for. And so we pried up that grate and we're descending into the bowels of this building, and that's where we stopped the session.
Yeah, very good.
It was very exciting. It was personally from a character standpoint for Mend, finding these people that had been tortured like that was a real shock. Something he hadn't experienced before. And it really kind of, even as a player, I think the session was pretty fun up until then. And it was just kind of, hey, it's D&D, we're doing this stuff. But then here's people that were in dire trouble. And who knows, if we'd gotten there sooner, maybe that woman would still be alive. Maybe not.
Yeah.
It was a thing.
Yep.
It made me think. So yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah, and the only detail I would add was there was a relatively short scene on as you guys were traveling from Tower Inverness to the dungeon, where
oh my God, yes.
one of the players, Lilith.
Yes.
What happened there?
How did I forget that part? Lilith Sorrowbone, who my character knows a secret about. She has this little pet, this pet toad. It's quite large. But we're going through this marketplace and it was really crowded, and the toad hopped out of her arms and jumped into the crowd and wandered away, and she followed after it. And the party sort of just kept tabs on her as she wandered through the crowd. The toad went to someone who ended up being someone that she knew from her past. Another, I don't know if I can say, it wasn't explicitly said in our campaign what was going on.
I don't know.
But she connected with someone from her past. I'm not going to drop too many details.
Yeah.
And this person invited her and the rest of our party to come to some place where people of their ilk gather, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, all are welcome, but it's
are welcome.
But yeah,
that's right.
Their folks seem to have the most influence in that group. Yeah.
She returned to the party, but the party did notice that her shape had changed slightly. The little details of her face and horns and stuff. She's a tiefling, or is she? So it's not explicit yet, but the party is beginning to believe that we have a shape changer in our midst. Maybe?
Yeah, indeed. And there's, I think I would just add that there's a little difference between what the players knew, because we went ahead and did the role play at the table. I didn't make everyone leave and everything, and and everyone was very good. And they just kind of moved on. Like, oh, you're ready. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you for the recap.
Yeah, you betcha. Anything else you want to add on to that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think there are many more things which will or will not unfold.
All right.
But I think that's probably good for today. But what I would love to talk about is so one thing about this campaign that this session included was that because it's so driven by character backgrounds. So I think we started that session with someone from the Temple of Ilmater, and then we had Lilith's kind of someone from her background, and there's somebody connected with Tenley the fighter who's leading you guys, and there are several factions already that you met, and this is a very different approach, and I've mentioned this kind of in previous episodes, where it's a very different approach, where there isn't like an adventure kind of with boundaries on it. The only boundary is really that you're in the city, and I've given you hooks, but I'm trying not to overly force you to do anything. I'm not, I think you guys are taking the hooks, which makes it easy. But what you do next, like there are, I think, at least 3 kind of options about what you do next.
Yeah.
After you kind of resolve this quest. And so this has just required a different level of management than I did last time. So in my 5th edition game, I used a lot of just notebooks and paper for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And that was fine at the time because I had everything in one place. And in fact, I started using a notebook for 5th edition because I literally just had the starter set when I started playing it. So I didn't even have books. I had a few minis. I guess I had most of my miniatures. I haven't bought many since then. But I had my miniatures and the starter set. And I think I even did it at when we were camping is when I played first, I think. And it was easy. The numbers are a lot easier. I was just taking a lot of notes. I use the books anyway because that's what I prefer. It's a little tricky because then if I had multiple notebooks, like I had a player's notebook and a DM's notebook, and sometimes I got them mixed up. And we were in your Strahd campaign at the time for a lot of that. And so like I would have some like DM's notes in my Strahd notebook and whatever.
Yeah.
Not awful, but it was, a pain. One problem is you can't reorganize things once you have it in your notebook without copying it over.
Yep.
It's just a bunch of work that I'm not interested in.
Yep.
But the advantage is I can use everything all in one place. Like I use it for the adventure, for the sessions, for combat. It's all in the notebook. And so I could look back and I could find everything, relatively easy.
Yeah.
But now that I have all these non-player characters, it's really untenable. And what I started creating a Google Doc just to keep track of everything as I was designing the campaign. It had the principles and I was kind of copying my emails in there and then more information kind of got added. And so I just started to use that more and more. But now I had a breakthrough. After the session. And so during the session, I didn't quite have the breakthrough, but I was using Google. I don't know if you'll notice, but I brought the laptop back for the first time.
I saw it,
I think probably in years.
Yep.
I think for session 0, I had the laptop because I was typing notes, but after that, it's been paper. I was using this master document, and I was using the font Control F a lot, and that worked actually really well. Like if I knew someone's name, Control F, maybe it appears 6 times. That's quick. That's not so bad.
Yep. Yeah.
And factions and neighborhoods and all that stuff. But what I learned after the sessions, so it was Sunday when I was just kind of still buzzing and cleaning things up, is that Google Docs has this table of contents functionality.
Oh.
And yeah, it's the 21st century, everyone. If there's any question about technology, especially commonly used technology, just put it in either Bing or Google and say, and so I literally was like, Google Docs, table of contents, and clear, easy instructions. and it's super easy. It's super easy. And so what you can do is, if you just have some text, you go to format, and it's paragraph styles, and it gives you the headings. And so you select like heading 1, 2, 3, whatever, and then those are the headings of your table of contents. So I have this table of contents at the front of my master document now, and then I format any text that I format with the heading, and then I hit refresh in my table of contents, and it just automatically defaults it in this format of the order.
Yeah.
And so now I can just kind of been cutting and pasting and organizing things, and I just look at this front page. And in fact, as you were talking, I was flipping through it. I'm like, oh, yeah, here's this non-player character, and here's the neighborhood names, and it's all in one list, and then I just click it. If I wanted to learn about, I wanted to look at Mend 13 Warforged. So I just click it on here. It's 2 clicks, and it goes right to the part of the document that has my notes about you.
That's amazing.
Which actually are, they're actually kind of slim right now. But part of it is that I've redistributed a lot of those notes into other places. So like I have your Ilmater stuff in the religion section. So it's changed my life. And I'm very excited about this, and it's super easy to just update and whatever.
Chad, I think you may have opened up a window for me. I think this may be something that I have to do because, like you, I was pencil and paper for the most part.
Oh,
keeping track
for Strahd, for your Curse of Strahd.
Yeah,
campaign.
And I had 4 different games all in one notebook, and I could never tell what was going on. This might save me.
It's so nice, and. Like I was saying before, even if you just start with a Google Doc, the control, and this is the same thing works for Word too. Word probably has all the same stuff, but I like the cloud functionality of Google. I mean, even if you just put it all in there, Control F is an easy way to find what you need, and then but the table of contents are sweet, and my sense of order. I mean, you can tell by how excited I am by this. Just my sense of order, just I get so happy just to look at it. So you were saying for Curse of Strahd, you just had your book and then paper mostly, or what?
Yeah, for the most part. Before I moved over to using Roll20, I was inputting all of my monsters into Excel and having each monster on a separate Excel spreadsheet. A separate tab in a spreadsheet. Yeah. And so I was running all my combats that way. I would get all the numbers from the players as far as initiative and whatnot, and then just copy that and stick it on the page that the monster was on, and just sort of run my combat there and do it.
What
that
if you
way.
had multiple monsters in the same combat?
I would tab between them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That went away when I started doing the Roll20 because everything was right there in on the
Right.
webpage. Yeah.
The initiative tracker and
Yeah.
all that's built in.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Did you use Roll20 to do any of the the adventure tracking or the campaign tracking, or did you just use it for
I didn't.
sessions? Okay.
I used it all for combat and like the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
That way, all of the campaign tracking was, like I said, in a notebook or on little note cards that I would jot things down and stick them
Oh, right.
in the Curse of Strahd book in the different sections. So
Oh,
if
God,
like
that stresses me out. What if it fell? I guess you would know. You could figure it out.
I could,
That's my first.
I might figure it out. But like your sense of order, I have a sense of order with those things. They don't get dropped.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Got it.
No, but that was also a little untenable because then I have 9 million note cards floating around in my book, and I just have it's just more stuff to keep track of, and I was trying to have less.
I'm a big believer in as much simplicity as you can get and still accomplish what you want to accomplish. And so. Like you were saying, what can you do? Can you do more with less? Less fidgety bits, less.
Right.
I'm already sprawled a lot as a DM, and I think this is helping me reduce that. I still love my hardback books, so there's only, I'm willing to have some of that.
I've realized that PDFs are great, and I like them, and they're great for me for getting a sense of something. But if I really want to unpack something, I need a hard copy.
Yeah.
I need something I can sit down on the couch with and thumb back and forth through, like hold my place with my thumb and then find another thing and then look back at it and do it like that. So it's just, that's the way I'm comfortable doing it. And so that's the way that works for me.
I've become just a bit of a snob for its own sake. Not, I don't know, a little bit of a snob, but more like, I just like it. I just like the hardback. And for, I used to collect comics for years and years and years until like grad school finally kind of ended it for me just because of time.
Yeah.
But I was never a hardback collection guy because they were more expensive, right? And going from single issues, which I did the vast majority of my collection is singles. And then I would do the collected, the trade paperbacks, which were a lot of fun. I have collections of them. And but now I've totally switched. I've totally flipped the other way. I'm like, if it's available in hardback, that's what I'll buy. That Uncaged anthology. I waited until my money was right, but until the payday came around. But I bought the hardback because I didn't want a paperback. There's another book I've got. There's a lot of books on the DM's Guild that look fun, but I'm just less excited if it doesn't come in the hardback. So
yeah, that's true.
These electronic tools I used to use a lot more of during my 4th edition DMing, and just that was just such a different game. I think I had very similar to what you were talking about, using Excel to run combat because I was so intimidated. The numbers were just so high. At least it seemed that way to
really
me.
Were.
And keeping tracking the math and everything, and I just used one tab. I think either per session or per encounter. So I didn't have, it wasn't monster based, but I think because I didn't want to flip during a combat. But then I would use the auto calculation to do the math. So I would just be like, so much damage, so much damage, so much damage. So I didn't have to do any math, which at the time I remember really being anxious about doing the math, which is kind of funny because I'm fine at math. I'm not great at math in my head, but at the time it was a big deal. Yeah. So I was just always on the laptop, and it required a bigger footprint. I had, my laptop, and I remember I would even put an extra folding table in addition to my kitchen table to run the game off of so that I had enough space for it. Yeah. I did that most of 4th edition. So that was a system I'd kind of evolved into. I tried a lot of things for the tracking of the adventure and the campaign. I used Obsidian Portal for a while, and it was kind of at peak Obsidian Portal. That was just the thing for a while, in around 2010 or so. Yeah. So we had the wiki, and I remember, you engaged with it, and some of the players did, and unlike everything, most of the players are not going to engage offline. That's just how it is, and that's fine. No complaints about that. People are busy, and we're adults, but then it's hard to get motivated to really upkeep a wiki.
Yeah, totally. So that's the thing with Obsidian Portal and stuff like that is that I'll create this beautiful thing that I can share with my players. Then I didn't think about the time it would take me to craft the beautiful thing. And then, you said, the fact that most of the players won't even check it. So it's just kind of a wasted thing.
Yeah. And I remember in your game, there were a couple times you did kind of special things. And this is a slightly deviation off the topic, but it's kind of an example of the investment that as DMs you put in. You know, like when my character got lycanthropy, I think a couple of us did during the Strahd campaign.
Yes.
And, you found the rules and you gave them to us. But then we did everything possible to not get subject to it.
Yep.
And we got rid of it immediately.
Yeah.
Like we made that our top priority. And then so I don't think I ever used the rules that you gave me.
I don't think you ever did.
What to do, and similar with the ghost thing, when my character died, you had this kind of great mechanic ruled out, and then just through natural course of play, I'm like, I don't want to be a ghost. Like, I mean, it could have been fine if that's the way it had gone, but we didn't. So investing more energy in something that just time has told us that players are not likely to engage in that much. Yeah, it's just, and that's what I like about what I'm settled on now is that it's totally for me. It's totally about information tracking.
Yeah, right.
The great thing about this is that I could share it. If other people who are not in the campaign want to see it, if anyone out there wants to see it, I can give read access to it. And it's filled with spoilers, so I wouldn't do that for you.
Right.
But, anyone else, I would. And that would be fun. It'd be easy to share, which notebooks, for example, would not.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Look through my notebook of 500 pages of scrawled notes that I did during a session.
Which might be fun, like at a party with gamers,
right,
but that's
exactly. At a sort of like gaming archaeology, flipping through all these old notebooks. Totally.
Totally. Which could be fun.
Yeah. It's not helpful.
No. Yeah, so I think I'm going to be sticking with that for this, Google Docs and, for quite a while. And we'll see where it goes from here. Do you have anything else for today's episode, Galen?
No, I don't think so. I think that wraps us up.
Everybody listening to this on podcast, we really appreciate if you enjoyed what you heard. We really appreciate it if you subscribe and if you give us a 5-star rating. And if you want to give us a review, that would really help us and would help people find us. Similarly, if you watch this on YouTube and you enjoyed yourself, please consider clicking the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to reach me, the best way is probably through Twitter. I am Continuing Clockwise, spelled at CONTCLOCKWISE, so at Clockwise. Galen, what do you have to tell the folks?
You can find me here on Twitch. I do streams during the day. I've just started up another bunch of miniature painting streams. I'm trying to paint up a bunch of miniatures and show everybody each step in the process. So no editing, no here I prime the mini and here now it's done. You're going to see the full thing from start to finish. So you can find me here on Twitch. You can also find me on Twitter at Zobmie, ZOBMIE. I do stream announcements there. I did stream announcements for this podcast as well, and that's probably the best way to get in contact with me. You can go ahead and send us questions or topic ideas for this show if you'd like to as well.
And with that, I think we're done.
Alrighty. Take care of yourselves, folks, and see you again next time.
Game great.
We conquered it.